My dad said I had to fund my sister's business or he disowned me. I walked out closed, every shared account, and thought that was it. Then she forged my name on the paper, so I brought them all to court. Reddit, longtime lurker here. I never thought I'd be one of those people posting a family story, but after what went down with my sister and the rest of my family, I honestly need to put this somewhere that isn't my lawyer's inbox. Let's just say when you spend your whole life being the responsible one, people start mistaking your silence for weakness. Big mistake on their part. Monday morning, nothing special. I was at my desk scanning through security logs, half listening to the hum of the office servers sipping my usual black coffee. Just another quiet morning catching small threats before they became big ones. Same quiet rhythm I liked. Then my phone buzzed. One of those long vibrations that always meant trouble. It was from my sister Sarah. I need a business loan. You'll co-sign. That was it. No greeting, no explanation. Just a demand like she was my boss and not the 28-year-old freeloader still living in our parents' guest room. I stared at the text for a full minute, then scrolled up through our message history. Every single one was one-sided. Send me gas money, Venmo me $40, I'll pay you back. Do you still have your Hulu login? Never once a thank you. Not even a period at the end of her sentences. Grammar was apparently too masculine for her feminine energy. This new loan request wasn't a surprise. Her latest career idea was a life coach brand called Glow Within. She said she wanted to help women reclaim their confidence from the patriarchy. Her exact words, I called it what it was, a fake influencer hustle. She planned to post daily affirmations like, "You are the sun, not his orbit," while selling $99 sessions over Zoom. Apparently, she needed money for startup costs, a ring light, an iPhone, a fake plant backdrop, and a studio lease she hadn't even visited. I knew exactly how this would go. She'd waste the money, post a few inspirational quotes, and disappear the second it got hard. What made it worse was how my parents acted like she just announced a medical breakthrough. Dad said she was finally following her purpose. Mom said, at least she's not depending on a man. That line always made her proud for some reason. They'd been enabling her since forever. And me, I'd been labeled the logical one, the stable one, the guy who should help because he can afford it. I never bent down for them, not really. The only thing they ever got from me was a shared credit line I stupidly agreed to open during a guilt-filled Christmas years ago. They called it family trust. I called it financial hostage-taking. I watched it like a hawk, though checking monthly statements for any surprise charges. So when I got her message about this loan, I didn't even have to think. I typed back, no. Simple, straightforward. Not even 2 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. It was Dad. His message was in full caps like he thought volume could make him right. If you refuse, you're disowned. Don't expect to come home again. I actually laughed. The kind of laugh that sneaks out because you're done pretending to care. Disowned, fine. I'd rather be disowned than financially milked by a self-proclaimed life coach who thought discipline was a form of oppression. I didn't text back, didn't even argue. Just opened my laptop, logged into the bank account, and called customer service. The rep on the line greeted me cheerfully. Hi, I'd like to close a shared credit line, I said. Of course, sir. Are both parties aware? They will be in about 5 minutes. She paused but didn't ask questions. I clicked the confirmation link, signed the forms, and told her to email me the closure receipt. Just like that, 3 years of guilt-based manipulation vanished with a digital signature. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the confirmation email like it was a graduation certificate. My phone buzzed again. Sarah. I didn't open it. I could already picture her typing with her fake nails, telling me I was a misogynistic control freak for not funding her dream. That was her thing. Every time she didn't get what she wanted, it became a gender issue. You hate women, she'd say. No, I just hated stupidity dressed up as empowerment. By noon, I had a missed call list that could have filled a page. Mom twice. Dad 3 times, Sarah 7 times 1, from an unknown number, probably her using someone else's phone. I didn't answer a single one. At 12:45, I finally sat back at my desk, finished my coffee, and refreshed my inbox. There it was. Confirmation. Shared credit line successfully closed. I smiled. Not the smug kind, the relieved kind. The kind you get when you realize you've been standing in a storm for years and suddenly find an umbrella. I leaned back, looked around my cubicle, monitors glowing with firewall alerts. The low hum of servers, co-workers focused on blocking phishing attempts and thought, yeah, this feels right. No fireworks, no yelling, just quiet control. By 1:00, Sarah's texts were already turning dramatic. You'll regret this. You just proved you hate women. You're part of the problem. I smirked, locked my phone and said under my breath, finally part of the firewall. Then I turned back to my screen watching a hacker get blocked in real time and thought same principle, just shutting down another intrusion attempt. I thought closing that account was the end of it. Turns out it was just the first lock on a door I didn't know she'd already picked. See, this wasn't the first time Sarah went nuclear over money or support. It's just the first time I didn't flinch. The truth is, this all started years ago, back when she was 20, and I'd already built a decent life. I had my own apartment, a steady paycheck, a career I actually worked for. She, on the other hand, was on her 5th new beginning. That year, she decided she was going to be an entrepreneur. Her idea, a business based on horoscopes, not reading them, selling them. She called it Star Path, and the plan was to make custom astrological life kits for people born under different signs. Each box would include a candle, a crystal, and a cheap printout from a horoscope website. She swore it was going to revolutionize self-awareness. My dad called it creative. My mom called it brave. I called it what it was, a scam with stickers. Thanksgiving rolled around not long after her big announcement. I wasn't planning on going. We hadn't spoken much since she'd called me a patriarchal realist for refusing to invest in StarPath, but Mom begged. It's just dinner, she said. Don't start anything. Fine, I went. Dinner started normal enough. Turkey, mashed potatoes, forced smiles. Sarah was dressed like a motivational speaker, wide-brimmed hat, too much eyeliner, and a shirt that said, "A line don't define." She'd set up a little display on the table corner like an exhibit, candles, glitter jars, and zodiac cards printed off the internet. Dad asked her how StarPath was going. That was all it took. She went off about how she was manifesting abundance and how her client's translation, 2 of Mom's friends, loved her ideas. Then she looked at me. But some people, she said, don't believe in anything, especially men who think logic solves emotions. Mom gave me that warning glance, the one that said don't. I tried to stay quiet. I really did. But Sarah kept talking, explaining how my cold masculine energy had always blocked her success. So I said it. You've had more business launches than birthdays, Sarah. Maybe the stars are telling you to get a job. That was it. She froze, plate in hand, eyes wide, like she couldn't believe anyone had interrupted her TED Talk. Then she screamed, "You always ruin everything!" and threw the plate. It missed by about 6 in, but the gravy splattered across my shirt and tie. The room went dead silent. Dad just stood there. Mom gasped. Sarah looked like she was daring me to react. I got up, walked to the kitchen, wiped my shirt off. Everyone thought I was leaving. I wasn't. I grabbed the scissors from the counter, walked back into the dining room, and stopped right beside her. She backed up. "What are you doing?" "Helping you realign your energy," I said, and cut a thick strand of her hair right in front of everyone. She screamed like I'd set her on fire. Mom jumped between us. Dad shouted my name. I just handed Sarah the scissors and said, "Now you match your business," half done and falling apart. Then I walked upstairs. Her room looked like a shrine to fake motivation. Walls covered in those cheesy posters that said stuff like, "Rise and grind and be the energy you want to attract." Shelves stacked with self-help books she never read, and empty vision boards full of magazine cutouts. Without thinking, I started cutting. Posters, note cards, all of it. Snip by snip, the sound was steady, almost peaceful. Sarah's crying downstairs turned into shrieks when she realized what I was doing. She ran up, pounding on the door, yelling, "You're insane! You hate women! You always have!" I didn't answer. I opened her window, tossed out a handful of shredded posters and said, "Happy Thanksgiving, Sarah. Time to grow up." By the time I got downstairs, Mom was crying, Dad was yelling about respect and self-control, and Sarah was clutching her chopped hair like it was evidence for a crime. I said nothing, just grabbed my jacket and keys. Mom blocked the door, saying, "You can't just leave after that." "Sure I can." I said, "You'll forgive her by morning anyway." Then I walked out. The air outside was cold enough to sting. I sat in my car watching the lights from the dining room flicker through the curtains. Nobody came out. Not Mom, not Dad, not even to tell me to cool off. I remember staring at my reflection in the rearview mirror, gravy stain on my collar, hair sticking up, hands still shaking a little, and thinking how weird it felt to be the only sane person in a house full of people who swore I was the problem. I didn't go back for Christmas that year or the year after. Every holiday text from Mom started with, "She's better now, just come home," and ended with, "Don't make it about money." Money. It always came back to that. That Thanksgiving wasn't just a fight. It was training for what was coming. Every time Sarah failed at something, she'd twist it into my fault. Every time I said no, I became the villain in her self-help narrative. So when I closed that credit line years later, I knew what was coming next. Not peace, not silence, retaliation, because people like Sarah didn't lose. They rewrote the story until they did. The next morning after closing the shared credit line, my phone looked like it had survived a war. 36 missed calls, 22 unread messages, and one group chat exploding with notifications. I didn't even need to open it to know what was coming. Mom's first message said, "She's finally chasing her dream. You're crushing her confidence." Dream right. A brand called Glow Within wasn't a dream. It was a Canva logo and a ring light away from a midlife crisis. Then came Sarah's posts. I checked her page just out of curiosity. Her Instagram stories were a full-on self-pity marathon. Videos of her fake crying with captions like "Toxic relatives can't stop divine feminine success." She even used a hashtag #rise above masculine energy. In one clip, she sat cross-legged on her bed holding a crystal and saying, "When men try to block your light, just remember they fear your glow." The comments were all her friends hyping her up. "Preach, queen. Men hate seeing women thrive." It would have been funny if my phone wasn't still buzzing non-stop. Dad texted next, "You've embarrassed the family. She's finally doing something with her life, and you're sabotaging it." I didn't answer. I knew better than to argue with a man who thought a YouTube channel counted as a business license. By 10:00 a.m., my cousin Luke texted, "You've got to see this. She's on Facebook Live." I opened the link. Sarah was sitting in front of a tapestry that said unapologetically me. She had a mug labeled Boss Babe and was announcing the official launch of Glow Within Mindset Coaching for Women. She said it like she was cutting a ribbon at a Fortune 500 grand opening. The logo was clearly made in Canva. There was a typo in her slogan helping women find their inner glow, and she was offering energy coaching sessions for $150 each. I almost choked on my coffee. "Clients are already signing up," she bragged. "Glow Within is about to change the world." Luke texted again. "Her only client so far is Aunt Patty. Perfect. Family discount probably." That night I muted every family chat I was in. I was done playing the audience in her one-woman circus. 2 days later, an email from the bank landed in my inbox. It said a lender had pinged them to verify the shared credit line, which was flagged as an attempted reopening using my name and authorization details. Denied. I didn't need to guess who. When I called to confirm, the rep explained it clearly. "Looks like your sister used that closed line as available credit on a small business grant application. The system auto-flagged it as a reopen request." "Of course she did," I said. "They noted it on record, and I asked them to lock all family-linked activity." An hour later, Dad called. I didn't answer. Then he texted, "So, now you're blocking her from growing her business. Jealousy doesn't look good on you." Yeah, I'm sure my cybersecurity salary was a real threat to her affirmations and hashtags. By lunchtime, Sarah was added again online. This time, she posted a video of herself holding sage talking about cutting cords from toxic family energy. She tagged me, literally tagged me. Luke screenshotted it and texted, "She's losing it, man. She thinks she's Oprah Winfrey." I replied, "Oprah can read a contract." Mom tried calling next. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail instead. The kind that starts soft and ends like a guilt grenade. "You used to care about family. You're turning into someone we don't recognize. Do you know how hard she's worked on this?" "Yeah. Hard enough to forge an application and try to steal my credit." That night, I poured a glass of water, sat on my couch, and started saving everything. Screenshots, messages, voice notes, posts, every lie she'd posted about me being abusive. I made a folder on my computer titled Proof. The thing about working in cybersecurity, you get good at documenting chaos. If someone tries to crash your system, you don't argue, you archive. 3 days later, Luke called me during lunch. "Bro, I just got off a family call. He said, "Your dad's losing it. Sarah's crying about how you killed her dream." I laughed. If her dream died that easy, it wasn't built to last. She said you're trying to control her because you can't handle a strong woman building her empire. Empire. She's selling confidence like it's essential oil. Later that evening, I got another message from Sarah. A voice note this time. Her tone was calm but dripping with attitude. "You know what your problem is, Samuel? You think logic is power, but real power is emotional energy. Women like me run on intuition. You wouldn't get that. I didn't even play the rest. I just replied, 'Cool, let your intuition pay your rent.' Then I blocked her number. The next morning, my work laptop pinged with another message from an unknown Gmail account. It was a PDF attachment titled "Glow Within Business Proposal." The cover page had my name listed as co-founder and financial director. She actually made me part of her company on paper. I stared at the screen completely still for a moment, then took a slow breath. She wasn't just delusional, she was dangerous. I forwarded it to my lawyer with a short note. "Add this to the folder." He replied within minutes. "Got it. Good call. Documenting early." That night, I texted Luke. "If she thinks this is war, she picked the wrong opponent." He wrote back immediately, "You're not the villain, you're just not bending down for them." I smiled, closed the folder, and locked my screen. For a few days, things went quiet. Too quiet. Sarah's silence was never peace. It was the sound of her planning something stupid. By Thursday, the quiet cracked. I was halfway through fixing a firewall issue when the front desk pinged my intercom. Samuel," my receptionist said, nervous. "There's a woman down here asking for you." "She's your mother." My stomach sank. "She's not crying, is she?" A pause. "She's definitely emotional." "Of course." When I got to the lobby, there she was. Mom, clutching her purse like she was on trial, red-eyed and dramatic. My coworkers were pretending not to stare, which made it worse. "Samuel," she said, voice shaking, "we need to talk about your sister." "Mom, I'm at work. It won't take long," she insisted, stepping closer. "You have to reopen the credit line. Please, she's trying to fix things." I exhaled slowly. "Fix what?" "Her imaginary empire." Her lip trembled. "She made mistakes, but she's your sister. She needs you. If you loved her, you'd help her start over." A few coworkers passed behind me, pretending to check the bulletin board. I could feel the heat of embarrassment crawling up my neck. "Mom," I said flatly, "I catch hackers for a living." "You think I'm reopening a credit line for one in yoga pants?" Her face twisted. "Don't be cruel. Then don't show up at my office crying over your grown daughter's unpaid Canvas subscription." The receptionist coughed from the corner. Mom looked around, realizing how many people were watching. "We'll talk later," she hissed, then stormed out. I walked her to the door anyway. "Mom," I said quietly, "go home. I'm not doing this again." She didn't answer, just got in her car and sped off. By the time I got back upstairs, my boss was pretending to be buried in emails. I sat down, rubbed my temples, and muttered, "Next family drama, I'm changing my number." That night, things went nuclear online. Sarah posted a Facebook essay accusing me of sabotaging her women's empowerment business. She said I was financially abusive, controlling, and afraid of strong women. Then came the cherry on top. She uploaded screenshots of fake AI conversations that looked like me messaging random women, badly edited, full of spelling errors, and time-stamped on dates I was literally overseas for work. The caption read, "This is the man pretending to be a protector while he humiliates women behind screens." Within an hour, cousins and distant relatives were all over it. Some commented supportive nonsense like, "Stay strong, queen." Others were skeptical. Then my cousin Maria jumped in. "These are clearly AI. Also, Samuel literally helped me with rent last year. He's the least toxic guy here." The thread exploded. Another cousin wrote, "Wait, why are the messages dated last year, but the app interface is from this month?" Someone else said, "I ran them through an AI detector. They're not real." By morning, half the family had turned on Sarah. My phone buzzed with texts from Maria. "Don't worry, we're shutting this down. She's deleting comments left and right." I didn't reply. Watching her crumble in real time was more satisfying than anything I could have said. Then, Luke sent me an audio file. "You'll want to hear this." It was a recording. Sarah screaming at our parents. He thinks he's better than me. He ruins everything I start. I'll make him regret this. Dad's voice tried to calm her down, but she was unhinged. He wants me to fail. He hates women who rise. Mom started crying in the background saying, "You need to stop Sarah," but she kept yelling until the recording cut out. I forwarded it straight to my lawyer, adding to the folder I wrote. He replied with a single thumbs up emoji. 2 days later, Luke texted again. "You're going to love this." Aunt Valerie's birthday cookout turned into a circus. Apparently, Sarah showed up dressed in all white like she was attending a purity ritual. The moment someone mentioned me, she started tearing up about family betrayal. Aunt Valerie didn't buy it. "If you're helping women reclaim confidence," she said loud enough for everyone to hear, "why are you still living off your brother's credit?" Luke said the silence after that could have frozen the air. Sarah tried to recover, muttering something about supporting energies, but nobody cared. The cousins started whispering. One asked if Glow Within even had a real business license. Another said she'd heard Sarah charge someone $50 for a Zoom energy cleanse that lasted 6 minutes. Luke texted me play-by-play updates. "She's crying now." Valerie's pretending to comfort her while shaking her head. She just blocked 3 people mid-sab. An hour later, he sent a photo of the cookout group chat. Sarah had left it. That night, I checked her Facebook again. Every post from the past week was gone. The fake screenshots, the long rants, even the empowerment quotes. Her page looked like a ghost town. For the first time, the family group chat was quiet. No guilt texts, no phone calls, just silence. I realized I didn't even need to fight back. She'd do it for me every single time. Weeks went by. No calls, no posts, no family drama. You'd think that would have felt like peace, but in my family, silence never means peace. It means someone's cooking something dumb. By the second week, I started getting weird calls from blocked numbers. I'd answer and there'd be breathing. Sometimes laughter, once a whisper sleep with one eye closed. I recorded everyone, sent them to my lawyer. He told me, could be her, could be someone she convinced. Either way, document it. Then came the DMS fake accounts, all freshly made, messaging things like, "You can't stop divine feminine energy." I'd block one, 3 more would pop up. I didn't even have to check the grammar to know it was Sarah. 3 days later, something new showed up in my mailbox. An envelope with my name written in big loopy letters. I opened it carefully, half expecting glitter bombs or crystals. Inside was an invoice, a real printed invoice with Glow Within letterhead and her fake logo. The paper claimed I owed her $78.60. The note at the bottom read, "Compensation for emotional and business losses caused by your interference. Pay within 14 days to avoid escalation." I actually laughed out loud. She had itemized it. Energy disruption damages and reputation restoration fee. I scanned it and emailed it to my lawyer with the subject line, "You're going to love this." He replied 5 minutes later, "Frame it. That's comedy gold." At this point, even he was invested like it was a Netflix series. Over lunch that week, he looked at me and said, "You know this isn't going to stop, right? People like that don't fade, they spiral. You might want to start building a case." I nodded, already started the folder. "Good," he said, cutting his burger in half. "Because if she ever crosses into property or defamation again, you'll want everything ready." I thought he was being cautious. I didn't realize he was predicting the next act. The next morning, I got an email from a rental company, East Bay Media Supplies. The subject line said, "Regarding your business reference for Miss Sarah Brooks." I froze. I hadn't given anyone a reference for her. The email read, "We're confirming your endorsement for Glow Within Studios. Thank you for verifying the account." Attached was a rental agreement, lighting kits, cameras, microphones, nearly $4,000 worth of gear, and there it was. My name listed under financial reference. Samuel Brooks, cosigner, verified. She'd used my name again. I called the company directly. "Hi, yeah, I never signed that reference," I told the rep. "In fact, that woman is using my name without consent. You might want to verify her ID before releasing anything." The guy sighed. "You're the 3rd person to call about her this month, then you already know what to do," I said. He chuckled. "Thanks for the heads up, man." 15 minutes later, the rental was canceled. No damage done. That was when I realized this wasn't just manipulation anymore. She was testing limits. So I tested mine. There was one thing I'd left untouched all this time. The car. A used Mitsubishi I'd bought for Dad a couple of years ago when his knees started acting up. It was under my name, fully paid for, and technically mine. When Dad stopped driving, Sarah started using it temporarily. That was 2 years ago. She trashed it too. Dent on the side bumper, scuffed cigarette burns in the seat, but she loved pretending it was hers. I made a call to a towing service I'd worked with before. Hey, I need a pickup. Address my parents' house. Vehicle gray 2013 Mitsubishi. Registered to me. The guy said, we can be there in 30. I said, make it 20. By the time the tow truck arrived, Sarah was home. She ran outside barefoot, waving her phone like it was a weapon. That's my car, she yelled at the driver. He pointed at the paperwork, registered to a Samuel Brooks. She turned red. He bought it for Dad, then he can give it back to him, the driver said. I watched the whole thing through the security cameras I'd installed at my parents' place. They asked me to install it when their neighbor's car got broken into. Watching her lose it in real time felt like poetic justice. She called me 20 times in an hour. I didn't answer a single one. Then the text started. You're pathetic. I needed that car for business deliveries. Deliveries? She sold motivation, not merchandise. When she hit text number 20, I replied with one photo. The Mitsubishi parked neatly inside my garage. Caption. If you needed it that bad, you should have bought it. No response. For once, actual silence. She'd built her whole life around manipulating everyone into submission. But for once, she'd met someone she couldn't twist. Someone who wasn't scared to cut the cord completely. And I had a feeling she wasn't going to take that quietly. I was right. 3 days later, I got an anonymous email. No subject line, no name, just a short message that said, I saw what she's trying to do. You deserve to hear this. Attached was an audio file. I hesitated for a second, scanned it for malware, old habit from my cybersecurity job, then pressed play. The first voice was Sarah's laughing. He thinks he's so smart, she said between giggles, like he's untouchable. Please, he's just easy to trigger. You make him feel guilty and he bends every time. A second voice chimed in. Didn't he cut you off financially? Sarah snorted for now. But my parents always cave. He'll be back once Mom starts crying again. He can't handle being the bad guy. I've got that whole family wrapped around my finger. They're too dumb to see it. Her friends laughed. Then she said something that made my skin crawl. Even my cousin Luke. I tell him just enough truth so he thinks I'm changing. He's not smart enough to realize I just need him to spy for me. I paused the recording and stared at the screen. That wasn't just arrogance. It was strategy. She wasn't chaotic anymore. She was calculated. The recording was perfectly legal. We live in a one-party consent state. And Luke had recorded his own call with her. The email had a second note at the bottom. Thought you should know what's really being said behind your back. No signature, but I had a feeling it came from someone close to her circle. Maybe one of those friends who'd finally realized what a monster she was. I forwarded the email to my lawyer and Luke with the subject line. Proof of manipulation audio. Luke called me 10 minutes later. She actually said that about me. Word for word, I said. He was quiet for a second, then all right, time to let the whole family hear it. That opportunity came faster than I expected. Uncle Terry's 4th of July barbecue, the one event everyone attended out of guilt. Terry invited me through text. You can come. Just one condition. No scenes, no promises. I replied. He didn't even reply. I showed up late like always. I grabbed a drink, nodded at a few relatives, and waited. When the small talk hit its peak, I walked over to the music table, unplugged the O cord, and connected my own Bluetooth speaker. The music cut instantly. People turned confused. Then her voice filled the air. He thinks he's so smart, like he's untouchable. The laughter from the recording echoed across the yard. You make him feel guilty, and he bends. Every time every head turned towards Sarah. She froze. Her face drained of color. Dad's jaw tightened. Mom whispered something like, "What is this?" I didn't say a word. I just stood there, arms crossed, watching them listen to every smug, manipulative word. The audio went on, her bragging about using their emotions, calling the family stupid, claiming she could guilt anyone into helping her. By the time it ended, you could have heard a pin drop. Grandma looked crushed. Uncle Terry muttered, "Jesus Christ." Luke avoided eye contact with everyone. Sarah's lips trembled. "That's fake," she yelled. "He edited that. He's obsessed with ruining me." Nobody spoke. Mom looked like she wanted to disappear. Dad just rubbed his temples and sighed. Enough. Just enough. Sarah stormed inside. 10 minutes later, she came back out, grabbed her purse, and walked straight to her car without saying a word. When I got home that night, the porch light flickered weirdly. The air felt heavy. Still, I parked in the driveway, grabbed my bag, and froze halfway to the door. The glass window next to my front door was shattered, jagged pieces glittering across the porch, and spray painted across the door in giant red letters was one word: hater. The paint was fresh, the smell sharp. I stepped closer, jaw tightening. No noise, no movement, just the sound of the wind through broken glass. I didn't call the police immediately. I just stood there staring at the red letters dripping down my front door until one drop hit the porch light and flickered out. For a long minute, I said nothing. Didn't move. Didn't even breathe much. Then I grabbed my phone, called the cops, handed them the footage, and filed the report. She'd gone off the deep end. And this time she wasn't just playing the victim. She was declaring war. I went inside, shut the door, and pulled up the security camera feed from my phone. The timestamp said 12:47 a.m. The footage was crystal clear. There she was, Sarah. Hood up, spray can in hand, pacing in my driveway like she owned it. She looked right into the camera before painting hater across the door like she wanted me to see it, like it was her signature. I sat there on the couch, watching it loop over and over. My hand didn't even shake. I just hit download, saved the video to my folder titled Proof, and forwarded it straight to my lawyer. His reply came in under a minute. "This is it. She's done." We met first thing the next morning. He had a file thicker than a textbook on the table. Texts, screenshots, invoices, the fake reference, the vandalism, the anonymous calls, the Facebook rants, everything. "She's crossed every legal line there is," he said. "We can file for harassment, defamation, and property damage all at once." "Do it," I said. He nodded. "You sure this will hit hard? That's the point." By noon, everything was filed. A police report for the vandalism and harassment, and a civil case my lawyer handled himself. All backed by timestamps, call records, and verified video evidence. There was no maybe. There was no gray area, just proof. The next 48 hours were chaos. My parents blew up my phone. Mom first, then Dad, then Mom again. "Samuel, this has gone too far. She's your sister, not a criminal. Please drop it before it ruins her life." I didn't respond at first. Then Dad called, his voice lower, like he was reasoning with me. "Son, you're making a mistake. She's still family." I let him finish, then said, "You enabled this for years. I'm just cleaning up what you built." He went silent, then hung up. 2 days later, Sarah's world started cracking. She was served with a restraining order, first delivered right at my parents' doorstep. Luke said she cried for an hour straight in the driveway before throwing the envelope at the process server. Then came the fines, thousands. Her lawyer tried negotiating, claiming it was all emotional distress and creative expression. Mine didn't even blink. He slid the video of her vandalizing my house across the table. "Looks pretty expressive to me," he said. The court date didn't take long to set. Sarah didn't show up for the first hearing. The judge issued a warning. The second hearing, she arrived in a wrinkled suit and tried to speak for herself. Half her sentences made no sense. Something about misunderstood female power and family oppression. The judge interrupted her twice. In the end, she was found guilty of vandalism and harassment. The defamation claim was settled privately. She had to post a formal apology and remove every lie she'd ever posted about me online. The verdict came with a small criminal record, community service, a fine, and mandatory therapy. Luke texted me after it was finalized. "You actually did it?" "Nah," I wrote back. "She did it to herself." The fallout hit the family instantly. Mom went silent for 2 weeks, then sent a single text. "I hope you're happy." I didn't answer. Dad stopped calling altogether. Luke said they were sticking by Sarah, but even he could tell it was more about shame than loyalty. They didn't defend her in public, just avoided the subject like it was radioactive. Grandma, though, broke her silence a week later. "I don't understand everything she texted, but I trust you." That one got me. I just stared at it for a while, then typed back, "Thanks, Grandma. That means more than you know." Months passed, no drama, no blocked calls, no fake DMs, just quiet. For the first time in years, life felt like it was mine again. I fixed the front window myself, repainted the door, new locks, new alarm system, and a front yard that finally looked normal again. Even the word hater was gone, covered, and forgotten. Luke started coming by more often. We'd grill on weekends, sit in the backyard, talk about work, laugh about stupid things that had nothing to do with family chaos. He once joked, "You should write a book surviving the glow within cult." I told him I'd title it How to Block Family and Sleep Great. He nearly spit his drink out. We didn't talk about Sarah much. There was nothing left to say. She'd made her bed, and this time nobody was fluffing the pillows for her. Then one afternoon it happened. I was grabbing groceries after work, just a normal day, earbuds in mind on autopilot when I saw her, Sarah. She was behind the counter at a small grocery store near the entrance wearing a name tag. Hair tied back, no makeup, no boss babe energy, just tired. She saw me before I saw her. Her smile froze, eyes darting down like she wanted to vanish. The restraining order wasn't a stay away, just a no contact and no harassment clause. So technically, standing in line wasn't a violation. I kept a few feet of distance, let the customer ahead of me finish, then stepped forward just long enough to pay. She scanned the bottle, hands shaking a little, didn't say a word. The total popped up. I handed her cash, slid it across the counter without looking up. Then I grabbed another bottle from the mini fridge beside her. "Keep this one," I said. She blinked. "Why hydrate?" I said simply. Her jaw clenched. She didn't look up again. I walked out sipping my drink, the automatic doors closing behind me. No words, no anger, no satisfaction either. Just quiet. The kind that finally stays. Peace doesn't make noise. It just shows up, sits down, and stays.